Toastmaster of the evening, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. We had been married about 3.5 years in the early summer of 1970 when 3 members of the family, one my wife and 2 my young daughters, decided it was time to acquire a puppy. Now, I was against such a move for a couple of reasons. Number one, I felt that there was going to be time constraints on my business, which I was just starting. And secondly, I had just found out that beginning in the fall, I would be going on a straight commission for my company. So I was forced to be a penurious dad. And the pressure was mounting. Every night when I came home for dinner, there was classified ads at my place at the table advertising dogs for sale. And so one night, they finally got to me. They not only had an ad, but they had a picture of what may be our beloved puppy. So after dinner, we all got into the family Bahama Blue VW convertible and headed across town to what I found was a classic puppy farm. My daughter, my youngest daughter Sharon, immediately pointed to this light brown puppy. And the dog, of course, knowing that he would become a member of the family, ran to her and jumped in the car. So how could Dad say no when the dog was already in the car? And as it turned out, what I thought was the case, the dog was free. This woman had quite a litter, not only of what turned out to be a beagle, but also other breeds as well. Now, I should have known better, because we brought the dog home, or the puppy home, and attempted to leave him in the kitchen. Well, nobody got any sleep that night because he cried and cried and cried. So finally we gave in, and up he comes to the 2nd floor. We realized shortly after we got him that he had some medical problems, and so we had a veterinarian that the family had dealt with earlier, and we took him over to be checked out. Well, 3 days later, and now remember, 1970, approximately $200 in cash, we had a healthy puppy. But a puppy that never wanted to stay home. If anybody has had a beagle puppy or a beagle dog, you know that they have a strong scent. Macduff, as he was called, and obviously it was from a Shakespearean tragedy, began to leave our home and not return, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. So I decided the only solution was to take him to dog obedience school. So I enrolled him in a free group dog obedience class, which was to last 8 weeks. Now, when I went to dog obedience school with the leash, but without Macduff. See, Macduff had decided to leave earlier that evening, and I felt if I did not go to the dog obedience class, I would miss a key lesson. So here I am at dog obedience school with 5 other people who had their dogs, and I have the dog's leash. Well, they kind of said, here's what you do, and when you get him, find him, work on this for the next week and it should be fine. Well, he showed up the next week, and I proceeded to show Macduff how to bay, how to sit, how to run, and he just looked at me like, okay, you're a good learner. So the dog obedience classes didn't work as well as I thought they would. And over the years, there were a multitude of stories, and I'm not going to bore you with a lot of them, but I will highlight 3 or 4. The Sunday he came to church, we had him on a chain. We thought a chain that would not permit him to get loose. But as I said, he had a strong scent, and he followed us a mile to a mile and a half to our church. We're all sitting there in the basement of the church, and we hear the familiar sound of Macduff. And I turned to my wife and I said, no, it can't be. It can't be. It's just impossible. We left him at home. No, it was Macduff coming down the aisle with the chain onto the altar, and he turns over, and the rest is history. The priest said, "My, this is a family that prays together." Another occurrence was he got into the bank vault of our local branch. How he got there, I don't know. I used to take him when I was depositing checks or withdrawing money, and somehow he got into the bank vault overnight. So from that point forward, I was called Mr. Macduff. Mowbray was not an option. 16 years and many happy memories of Macduff. The last one is when we moved to a new house about a mile away. Guess where Macduff went? He went back to the old house every time he had a chance.